Okay, and welcome everybody once again to Good Future Foundation here at BETT on day 2. Really excited to have a group of educators with us for this session to talk through the implications of in-person professional development when it comes to AI in schools. I'll let everybody introduce themselves. If you could just tell us your name and role and which school you belong to, and then we'll get into a bit more detail around what we did together and how we've collaborated. If I could ask you to start, George, please.
Brilliant. Yeah, so I'm George Barlow. I'm Executive Principal at St Bart's Watergrove Trust and lead on digital strategy and support across all our schools.
I'm Ricky Bridge. I'm the digital lead at Bargrave St. Bartholomew.
And that's in Stoke.
Stoke-on-Trent, sunny Stoke.
I'm Dave Leonard. I'm the Strategic IT Director at Watergrove Trust in Rochdale. And I didn't get the memo about the uniform, so apologies. Yeah, we're a small multi-academy trust, but we've got a big heart.
We've done some work together over the course of the last year when it comes to in-person professional development and AI. Before we get into the programming, I'd just like to know a little bit from you about how important is AI in your trust context at the moment, and how do teachers typically respond to the opportunity for professional development around that? Dave, maybe I'll start with you if that's all right.
Yeah, I think I've said previously that our approach is one of cautious optimism. So we are looking to see how we can use AI to improve outcomes, reduce workload and save time. So the outcomes for students is hugely important, but we need to look after our professionals as well, so particularly our teachers. Nobody in education has got too much time, so where can we use AI to save some time? So we've been using AI probably for 18 months, 2 years now within our trust. I wouldn't like to say that we are experts, because I don't think there is an expert in AI, but we are realizing the benefits of staff being empowered to use AI, being better than staff that aren't capable of using AI. So there's no threat to anyone through AI, but there's opportunity, and that's our focus really.
And how does that
Very similar.
relate?
It is kind of lateral, evolutionary rather than revolutionary. So it's enhancing what focal practice that we already do. It's kind of passing the baton really. So we almost want robots to endless admin tasks, and actually it's relieving us of that, so we can do this, which is anything children, anyway.
And I think we've looked at efficiencies and effectiveness. So efficiencies in terms of admin, and then effectiveness and enhancing of teaching and learning and pedagogy. And again, we aren't experts, but I think the message from us to all of our 22 schools was it's a bigger threat to ignore AI than actually go and explore, and let's look at doing this safely together and be critical of using AI moving forward. So.
But that's a big step, right? Because this technology, at least as a mainstream concept, is relatively new to a lot of people. When you go out there to your community and say, hey, this is something I think we should be focusing on, let's do an inset, or let's do some PD in this space, what kind of a reaction do you get? Maybe I'll start with you, Ricky, if that's all right, because I know this is your wheelhouse.
In terms of teachers,
Let's go with teachers. Yeah, please.
I think it's a mix. Exactly like when we first put the iPads in, you've got your state pensioners, which are quite stand-off, they're reluctant, always used to do things one way. And this is doing well. You've got your tourists that will have a go, on the hand holding. Yeah, they want a tour guide, and then you've got your explorers that will just go off and explore just on their own, their bike. So yeah, it's been very much a mix, I would say. I don't know if that's the same.
Absolutely. We even use the same terminology. Yeah.
So what happened the first time you did that, Dave?
It starts off with those of us who've got an interest in the tech going away to things like BETT years ago, when AI was probably first becoming more mainstream in education. Going back with ideas and thinking, okay, how can we use this to make improvements? And then there tends to be an element of, I'll go out and do some training within our schools, and some people will take that on board well, and others will go, that's just Dave. We see him every day. It's not really something that we need to listen to. So then you need to find a partner who comes with some reputation, some gravitas, and who is high quality. And that's where we benefited from working with Good Future Foundation, because the support that you gave us and the reaction to the training that you did was brilliant. And yes, it was better than I was doing, but even if it wasn't, it was different, and a different voice sometimes unlocks the closed ears. But it was still excellent training.
That's very kind of you to say, and I'm grateful and pleased that it had that impact, right? But is that something that resonates as well for you when, George, you've got an external voice coming in, and was that a part of the decision-making process to work with Good Future and I know many others as well?
Yeah, definitely. And I think because, similar to you, people say, oh, it's Ricky and George, the tech guys again from the Trust. And of course, they're going to be pushing tech because they're so passionate about it. Seeing someone external come in and the impact it has on practice was huge. And I think the biggest barrier for us in our initial audit of staff voice was AI is cheating. So staff thought it was a cheat. And we had to overcome that barrier and getting someone external to come and explain that actually, no, it isn't. And if we use it ethically and safely and we get the right safeguarding procedures in place, this can be so impactful for staff and for children. And that's when we got the buy-in. They could see the impact.
And I think also this, we've spoken about this before, whenever something tech or AI has been implemented, and rather than thinking about the what,
The why.
Start with the why. Why are we doing this? How are we going to achieve this, and what does that look like? As at the end.
And you guys were part of that how. That was how we were going to do it. So our vision was to implement AI to be more effective, more efficient, and that fantastic CPD was a massive part of all that how.
Very, very pleased to hear that as well, of course. I want to come back to you just on that point, though. You said, oh, it's Ricky and George, the tech guys. I mean, you're executive head. I don't know many other executive heads are as involved in digital as you are. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came about and how you got the confidence to take on that aspect of the role? Is it something you need to offload tons to Ricky? Because I'm sure there are many other heads sitting there thinking, hang on, how does he even have time to think about tech and strategy?
I think because I've seen the impact of tech and I'm so passionate about the impact of tech on children and learners, and my passion is teaching and learning. And I know a lot of heads get caught up in admin, and I see actually AI can remove that so I can focus on what my passion is. And I think the model we've got is I do a lot of work with leaders in changing hearts and minds, and then Ricky is the main man when it comes to practice on the ground now and implementing that practice with teachers and working alongside staff. I find the time because I love it and I'm passionate about it, I suppose, is the summary.
And how does that translate at Watergrove? Have you got other sort of key stakeholders across the trust who will amplify your strategic vision around what good tech implementation looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're very fortunate. We've got Bob Harrison, Professor Bob Harrison, who's one of our trustees. So he comes to us as a very good critical friend who helps put the guardrails in and remind us that, okay, what you're doing is great, but how is it impacting on learners? Where are we seeing the benefit? Much as you said, said yourself there. And it's got to have real benefit. Otherwise, why are we doing it, right? So we've got Bob who does that. We've got Mark, our CEO. Bless him, he's not technical whatsoever. But on the day that you did for us, he literally saw the light bulb going over his head, and he got the why. Even though we start with the why and we tried to get that across, he just came away going, wow, it all makes sense now. But then we've got our school leaders, our key stakeholders in the schools. One of the things that we asked you to do for us was to make the training bespoke for safeguarding leads and for data leads, because there's lots of content, lots of training out there for how you can use AI to plan a lesson or to do reports or whatever it may be. And that's great, and it saves a lot of people time, so the impact is measurable and specific. But our data leaders are screaming out for that, because when you're dealing with a load of data, what a computer's good for is taking away those repetitive tasks that nobody likes doing and that lead to errors. So one of the key things I wanted to get out of the day was, how can we safely use AI in a responsible way that protects our data but frees up the time for these people. So instead of processing data, they're looking at the impact of what those data are and how we can use them to improve services across the trust.
Definitely.
When it comes then, because we've got an idea of what that looks like across each of the trusts in terms of tech, thinking about AI adoption, implementation, for you on the ground as a day-to-day, Ricky, how does AI fit into what you're doing with teachers? How are you helping to build their confidence from an internal perspective?
I think one of the key things is collaboration, making it practical rather than just theory. So teachers are seeing it in action and seeing positive outcomes as a result. We split into three ways. We looked at pre-teaching, during teaching, and post-teaching. We put a book together about how it can be used prior to teaching, how it can enhance teaching itself, the lessons, and then how it can enhance teaching, post-teaching as well. So we think about assessment and feedback.
So I've thought about lots of different areas of school life and how professional development could help.
Yeah.
What would you say to a school or a trust that's thinking about this for the first time? They're thinking about, okay, what might a menu of good AI PD look like for our schools? Where to begin? Dave, maybe let's start with you.
I think every school is different, and we recognise that. So it's knowing your staff is the key thing to start with. But the key thing for me, and the thing that I'm most pleased about our approach, is that we included all staff. So we set up an AI working party, and we invited people from every area of the organisation. So we've got leaders, we've got teachers, we've got TAs, we've got people from the HR, the people team, we've got people from the site team, we've got the techies, which is a bit obvious, but people from the marketing team. You know, one of our AI leaders is Steve, who unfortunately can't be with us today. He's our marketing manager. So anybody who's got an interest either in AI or in saving time, welcome them in, because the perspective from different people opens up that possibility for all areas of the business. So that would be my number one thing, is get your team together and welcome everybody in. We welcome anybody to join the AI working party at any point in the year, dip in and dip out of it. Include the people who show an interest, send them all the information you get, and just welcome that feedback. And that helps to build that groundswell of movement across the organisation. And then it's not just Dave the techie, the leaders, or the techie bros as you are here. It's people see their colleagues, their compatriots doing the same, using these tools and benefiting from them, and they're much more likely to take that on board themselves, because they have familiarity in knowing that they can trust their fellow teachers or their fellow TAs or their fellow admin teams. So that for me was a big thing. Be as inclusive as you possibly can.
Definitely.
Great stuff. How about you, George?
I think we started with the why and the vision, similar to what we said before, and then safeguarding. Again, with a team from every possible perspective and every stakeholder that we possibly could on a working party, to make sure safeguarding was the core element that was met, and we were ring fencing AI to be safe in our trust, and then sharing that practice, so upscaling that practice. Ricky used it, shared the impact and upscaled the practice across one school, and then it's obviously gradually sharing that practice across 22 schools as it is now in the trust. So
I think our policy was also built around our school's core values.
Right.
Which is also really important.
Yeah.
But mine would be similar to yourself, contextualise, so it needs more staff, school, curriculum, and that ongoing collaboration is so important. Being able to see it in action rather than just being told, having those opportunities, sandpits, playgrounds, where you have to call them, children, teachers and staff are having the opportunity to have a go, make mistakes. That we learn from each other so good.
And the staff have come up with some amazing ideas from just that. And the feedback we're getting is we've never even gone to that place and thought that would be an opportunity to use AI. So that collaboration has been huge.
So we can't ignore our environment here, of course. We're at BETT, the largest EdTech event in the world. Thousands of people here, all exploring new, mostly AI solutions for different areas of school life. How do you personally and professionally navigate what is typically described as a bombardment of the senses in this space? Thinking through, you want to make these sensible decisions based on how you understand your school communities, but also wanting to be, I suppose, a little bit at the cutting edge of what's going on in education and technology. Maybe, Ricky, let's start with you first of all.
Can you repeat the question?
I think
How's daydreaming?
Go for it.
I think there's a lot of AI is a buzzword, isn't it, at the minute? And I think there's a lot of things out there are branded as AI, and what's gimmicky and shiny, and what aligns with your core vision and values, and is going to have an impact on key stakeholders. I think if you stick to that as your driver, you'll see through the flashy, shiny lights and see what's actually going to work for your context.
I completely agree with that. And what I found is that my favourite part of BETT is always the startup area.
Yeah.
Because I know what all the big players do. I've been working with them for 20 years, but coming into the smaller booths and seeing what they're doing is always the most interesting. And interestingly this year, what I'm reading from that is it's the same solutions, but with AI thrown into it. And that's a little bit worrying in some respects. And particularly having seen the latest DFE standards around AI, I think that's a huge hand grenade that's been thrown into these companies because, and don't get me wrong, I think those standards are massively important and for the most part, spot on. But I wonder how many of these new startups in particular are compliant
and aware
with those standards. So one of the things that I would turn to the experts such as the Futures Foundation for support and guidance on is try to identify who are the compliant players in the market so that we know as school leaders who are making decisions and the school teachers and the people from various areas, we've got confidence that we are acting ethically and responsibly.
Definitely.
The second thing I would say is everybody talks about BETT. I've been coming here for 20 years. Who knows what BETT stands for?
You asked that question on the way in.
and everybody gets, well, it's probably British, it's probably education, it's probably tech. The other one is training. That's the second T in BETT. So it's British Educational Training and Technology. Where is the training? Because you can have as many shiny things as you like.
Exactly.
You can buy a new Lamborghini, but if you don't know how to drive it, you're either going to crash and kill yourself or you're not going to be able to get very far with it. So I think the focus on training is hugely important. And again, that goes back to CPD and honest and responsible use of CPD resources and time. So I go back to my first point, nobody's got too much time. So if you're going to do it, you've got to make it impactful.
And I think on the flip of that as well, you might crash the car or not maximise the potential of the car and just be scratching the surface. So it's key. Spot.
I want to come back to you, Ricky, just for a second. When you're thinking about, what you see within your role, there's so much happening in this space. How do you think through, this solution can do this? I bet my teachers could benefit from that. Are you looking at it from a safety first perspective, or are you thinking about it from a productivity perspective? What does that look like?
Absolutely safety first. That's first and foremost most important. But for me, my love is teaching and learning. So I'm always looking for how it can enhance teaching and learning and improve how to people's effect. Essentially.
Great stuff. Well, absolutely wonderful to have you all here with us today at Good Future Foundation. Really appreciate our collaborative efforts today, and I'm very pleased to hear how well the professional development so far has been received. Hopefully we can encourage some other schools as well to take that on. Thank you so much for your time and energy and being here today, and hope you have a wonderful BETT.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your support.
Thanks, Daniel.